At the beginning of the story, we see a space station where scientists are conducting a secret experiment, and this experiment is done on a mouse. Now the scientists took a rat to make this experiment a success. They give a virus. The virus is so much more if it is given to any animal. The animals are much larger and more dangerous. And so it is. And when they do, infected with the virus, then the rat, it is much larger than its size. And before the scientist controls that rat, then the whole space station begins to collapse, in which many scientists are killed. Only one scientist survives, and they quickly get close to the door of your company. His name is Claire. He says the experiment has failed, and the rats are much more aggressive. He killed everyone. I am the only survivor. Open the space station door quickly, so that I can come out. No, he will kill me. But the CEO of this company is a very greedy woman, and he says, I will open the space station when you bring the virus with you, the one on which the experiment was conducted. If you don't listen to me, I am yours. I will not open the door and you will be killed there. Not wanting to, the scientist risked his life in return. It takes 3 boxes of the virus, and according to the promise of the CEO of the company, after taking the virus, he opened the door for her. Then the scientist. They quickly sit in another small space station. Here is the scientist. He is a very large rat. And now that rat. Space station glass begins to break to kill scientist before he breaks the glass. Scientists to their small space station. Then the great space station moves towards the Earth. After some distance, because the air pressure is high, the glass of this small space station begins to crack. And then they see the station is blasted in which the scientist is killed. And there are 3 boxes of viruses, and they shall fall to the Earth. One of the capsules falls into the forest, where a wolf approaches its capsule. The gas from the capsule, the wolf is infected. The second capsule falls into the ocean water, which makes a crocodile infected. And the third capsule falls into a zoo, where a white gorilla goes when it approaches the capsule. Then inhale the gas from the capsule. The white gorillas are also infected. Then we see a man named Davis. Davis previously served in the U.S. military. Davis is now retired from the U.S. military, works to train wild animals. Here Davis takes some tourists with him to the forest. He takes it for granted, and he brings them to the place of the gorillas, where there are lots of guinea pigs, which all tourists are terrified of. But Davis tells them not to be afraid. They will not tell you anything. And then a white gorilla comes before them. This is the gorilla, the one who capsules at night. The gas was inhaled. But the virus has not yet affected this gorilla. And here we see Davis, speaking to this white gorilla in signs. This white gorilla is very intelligent, who understands the words of man, and pretty good with the gorilla dudes here. Because when it comes here, the gorilla was small, and the gorilla's mother was killed by hunters. Then David brought this gorilla from the forest with him. And Davis named him George. And now Davis and George have a pretty good friendship. On the other hand, we see the CEO of the company, who told the girl who was trapped in the space station that, if you haven't brought a virus capsule with you, I will not open the space station door for you. The brother of the CEO of the company is quite angry because their experimental mission had failed. And that girl from the space station 3 capsules of 3 viruses for them, and brought. They thought they were going to burn out. But here's the company C. He showed his brother some pictures and said, the scientist was killed in the blast, but he took capsules of 3 viruses. They are much stronger, and I'm pretty sure they're not broken in the blast, as well as the CEO of the company. He showed his brother a picture of the forest. Us! Then there was the night when the sky came down. Nothing else, they are the capsules of the virus. So we quickly send your team there. These virus capsules must be obtained. Once we get those capsules, we get them. You can make all the money by selling in the market. The CEO's brother likes this idea, after which the CEO of the company, a private army team goes into this forest, orders virus capsules, and also the private army team. The helicopter is fully prepared to leave the forest. The next morning, when he comes to Zoe, he is a servant of the team, says George. The white gorillas are very angry. And George went out of his cage and into a place of great beer. This makes him think of George. They are much more powerful and dangerous. And he thought he had killed Jorge. When they go inside, their eyes are open. Because Beer, down on the ground, he was sitting there and sitting in the cave. Seeing them both, they are quite shocked. How was George so powerful? Now we know that the virus is starting to affect George. But that's not exactly the news to Davis. Now the devs go from here to George. He asks why you killed him. George says, he attacked me first, so I killed him. Now George comes out of the cave. Davis is excited to see him, because its size is much larger. Then he saw George's behavior change. It's done, and George didn't believe it as he did before. David understands this. Something is changing in George's body, and then Davis, the team on walkie-talkie, is called to the gorilla area, where all the gorillas live. And when Davis comes to this place, then a team member says to Davis, we got this capsule here. This is the same capsule that George inhaled last night. Seeing this capsule, Davis understands. Then they change their minds. After which, Davis puts his capsule to school. And devs, George is locked in a large cage and taken to the hospital, so that he might know what's in George's body, which is why his body is so fast. Growth in George's blood test shows there was something mixed in George's blood, which makes his body grow. And then a family scientist comes here. And in the hands of Dr. David, she saw the virus capsule and said, give me this capsule, because this capsule is mine. But David didn't listen to him and he left. Then he followed Dr. Davis. He says that George's body is growing fast. He is stronger and more powerful than before. Then he hears the doctor's voice. Because it really changed. They came to George. Then she says to Dr. Davis, I work for an energy company. The DNA of the animals. And we got a shark. By mixing the DNA of a leopard and a bat. Created virus that if tested on any animal. The animal is like a shark. Non-stop continues to grow. And like a leopard. This is why George's anger is growing day by day. Because last night George's height was 7 feet. But now George's height is 10 feet. It's too late and I'm the only one who's fine with George. I have a vaccine that George has. The size of George will not be small. But George's anger will be completely shattered, because there is no food here. He is angry and he is angry. Davis tries to shake it. But George doesn't even listen to Davis anymore, and the cage was broken by the door of the hospital, out on the road. Then Davis comes out and tries to stop George. George was completely out of control, and then the police arrived and the police shot George. Then you give it to David. Police stop shooting George and say, that I am him, I can do it. Then the police shot the gun. And then George. But then the police arrived from the helicopter, and they shoot George with the needle of ignorance. Which after a while, George is unconscious.
On the other side,
Private army of the company's CEO. The team was sent into the forest to retrieve the virus capsules. These people are forests. They come to this part, after which the private army team, the helicopter descends into the forest, in every part of the forest, finding the virus capsule.
on the other side,
This private army team, the CEO of the company and his brother, with the help of cameras, they see everything. And when the teammates are moving in the forest, now they see the footprints of an animal on the earth, which is much bigger. Everyone on the team is terrified. And that sign is a wolf, which they understand. They say that the virus has been inhaled by a wolf. Then the CEO of the company tells the captain of the private army team, "How can I live or die?" Now they are ready to kill the wolf. And then they hear the sound of something coming around. Then they will all hear. And then we see a great wolf attack them and many of them. He kills his friends. These people are in the forest to save themselves. They run there, but wolf kills them one by one in that. Every company's CEO is looking at the screen. It is quite sad. The CEO of the company is not bothered by this, that the private army teammates were killed. Nay, but they are sad. Private army team could not bring the virus capsule. Only captain of the private army team alive in the jungle. The captain quickly called the helicopter. Then the captain speeds up. Tries to reach a helicopter out of the forest. But then he starts chasing Wolf Captain. Then the helicopter arrived, shooting at Wolf from above. But the bullets have no effect on Wolf, and the Wolf was furious. He jumped straight to the helicopter, which makes the helicopter crash completely. And all of them see the captain of the private army team. And then Wolf comes from behind and swallows the team captain alive. We see the other side, when the helicopter is shot from the top. George was unconscious. The police locked George in a cage. And now put that cage in an airplane. Take it for an experiment. It happens. The police also arrested doctors and doctors, because they both reported George's size increase. The government did not. Then the two of them are sent to the same airplane, where the judge was locked in a cage, and then the ship went off. Then an agent comes to them and he says to the agent David that you are training the gorilla, but you were a soldier and you fought many wars. Now Davis asks this agent, "What are you doing with this gorilla?" Then the agent tells you, "We're going to kill this guy. It can be dangerous for humans, and it's not just a gorilla growing in size. In fact, a wolf was seen in the forest, which is rapidly increasing." Here's what Davis says to this agent. "You don't have to kill this guy, because we can fix this gorilla." Davis looks at Dr. Keith. This agent says, "Dr. Keith, energy works in the company, and Keith has prepared a vaccine, which we can totally normalize this gorilla." He smiled and said, "But you do not know the truth." Then the agent starts telling me about Dr. Keith. "You worked for an energy company. 2 months ago you were in prison, because you have a hard drive from your company he tried to steal." Hearing this, Davis is disappointed, because the doctor lied to him that I was still injured. I work in the company. On the other hand, we are the CEO of the energy company, and seeing his brother. Both of them found out that the government had a white gorilla. He is caught. And now they're taking it on an airplane for an experiment. The CEO of the energy company is quite angry, because he didn't want to be there. And then the hands of someone else. Then he said to his brother, "As many animals as our company is infected with viruses, inside all these animals is the DNA of our virus. That's why I built a tower, which all the animals will come to the tower. When the animals come to the tower, then the army will kill these animals, or again, the animals will fight and kill each other, and then we have the DNA of those dead animals. They will be sent to the market, which we will make a lot of money from." Then the company's CEO tower, then he turns on the side, and as it turns from the tower, when all the animals are infected, then he hears, and when the wolf hears it, then he runs straight to the tower. We see the other side. Then the waters of the river began to flow, and here we find that the virus from which Crocodile infected, and then he turned towards the tower. George on the ship, who is in a state of unconsciousness, and they hear the signs, and hearing the tower's side signal. The judge is conscious and much more. He breaks the cage. Then he started the whole ship. And one by one they kill people on board. Now the agent here starts shooting George with a gun. But then the bullets in his gun are gone. And George was angry. Then he will kill himself. Then George, he tells the agent to leave. Now I don't kill the agent believing in George Dawes here. But then a guard came from behind and started shooting at George. One of the bullets, the airplane is attached to the dynamite. And in the back of the ship, there is a strong blast. The ship is moving quickly towards the earth. Now they understand. If we were in the ship, we would not survive. Davis and Dr. Kate wear parachutes. They jump off the ship, and then, in the same way Davis was the agent, the parachute is worn. And when the wind blows, then Davis opens his parachute. George is still on the plane, and the plane quickly hits the ground and explodes. Seeing this makes David very sad because he felt it. The judge is dead. These are the ones who are on the ground. Then the three of them came to him, where the plane crashed, and here are the bodies of the 3 judges. But the judges are not seen anywhere, and then the people of the earth. George's footprints are visible in the forest. They were going to, then he realized that George was still alive. Here he thanks Agent Davis, because David saved his life. Now losing George here makes David's pretty sad. Then Dr. Keith Davies says it's all my fault. These animals have changed for me. If I hadn't done that, it wouldn't have happened today. Here's Dr. Keith Dawes telling his full story. And he says, I worked for the CEO of the company. Everything was going well. But then one day my brother's health suddenly deteriorated. The doctor said, your brother's life is not alive. I loved my brother so much. And I didn't want to lose my brother at any cost. So I made a drug called CRISPR in the company, which saved my brother's life. But when the CEO of the company found out that I made a drug called CRISPR, so the CEO of the company initiated the wrong experiment of this drug. When I found out that the CEO of the company created me, wrong experiments on medicine. So I decided to destroy all the samples, but the hard drive of these samples, the company guards caught me. And then the CEO of the company, he was imprisoned for 13 months. And when I was in prison, my brother died. But even after I died, I didn't see my brother's face. That's why I want it now. The CEO of the company will not harm anyone again. And I'm the real face of the CEO of the urgent company. I want to bring it to the world, then with the agents. Then the helicopters arrived. And that helicopter, these three are taken to Air Force headquarters, where they meet the Colonel. And Colonel, Wolf and George are planning a bomb attack. Colonel here, both of them are showing videos of George and Wolf. Both of them. The previous several, going to the city for hours. Looking at the doctor, he understands that. Why do animals come to the city like this? The doctor tells everyone, the energy company I worked for. The CEO of this company has built a tower on the roof of the building, from which these animals are attracted to themselves. And that's it. These animals are coming to the city in the same direction. Because of this, the animals suffer. And now these animals want to break this tower somehow. But the Colonel does not believe his words. And the Colonel says, and when they come to the city, we fly them through the bomb. They will listen to what David says. This is how people will know. Then the Colonel says what we should do next. We have a way to go. To the animals. An antidote has been created in the energy company. If we get an antidote, so we can stop these animals from a bomb blast. But the Colonel does not agree with their words. And then there comes a book in which it is written that Davis trained this white gorilla. Then, when they find out, they become angry. And both of them are taken to court. Now both of them understand that we have to bring an antidote somehow. No, the animals will destroy the entire city. So they both ran away. But then two soldiers look at them both. And they follow them, and they follow them. Then, the two of them are thrown into the fire, now to get the antidote. They needed a helicopter, so they decided to fly the helicopter. As soon as they get to the helicopter, then the agent comes from behind. David thought it had stopped us, but here they agent them helicopter keys. He grabs and says, Colonel can never stop these animals, because I know when we got George inside the ship, it was locked in the cage. How great was the destruction he had caused. But the Colonel will not understand. Then both helicopters fly towards the energy company. Send a team of Colonel Army. Wolf and the gorillas try to stop the city. But the wolf and the gorillas who were coming, they were killing them. And all of them look at the screen. Now that the Colonel understands, these animals are not worth the price. Colonel, the whole city and the whole city. A big boom decides to blast so that 3 animals were killed.
On the other side.
Dr. Keith and Dawes arrive in the city by helicopter. And then he looks at the top. Wolf and George have reached the city. Both of them are in the city. In front of them come tanks and helicopters. These 2 animals destroy them. And the fast-moving side. They move towards the tower. There was no shortage of them in the city. Then we see the water in the river. And then they see a huge giant crocodile emerges from underwater, which is much worse. And then they are scared, and they are scared. Then they started attacking the crocodile. But there's the crocodile under his big feet. Several army soldiers are crushed, and that's just like the other 2 animals. Looks to move towards the tower, and whatever is in his path, it destroys him. Dr. Keith and Davis arrive at the energy company. Then Davis calls the agent. And the agent tells Davis that, Colonel, throughout the city, it's going to be a big bomb blast, in which everything will be destroyed. Therefore, something must be done before the bomb blast. Both of them were quick to hear. In every corner of the lab, the antidote begins to be found, and after a while, they get an antidote. After which the doctor, he quickly picks up 3 samples of this antidote. But with the help of the company's CEO camera, see the doctor and David on the screen. These two are the ones the CEO of the company from behind. Then they came and shot them. Antidote asks. Then the doctor cleverly hid an antidote to himself. He takes and gives the rest to the CEO of the company. After getting an antidote, company CEO, David shoots him in the foot. And the doctor with you, and if there is any danger ahead. Both doctors can save themselves. We see the 3 of them. The animals came to the building, and the 3 of them climb on top of the building one by one. The CEO of the company is here, sitting in a helicopter and getting out of here. Then suddenly the judge comes in. The judge is very angry, and he picked up the helicopter, Then Davis comes and saves the doctor. I am very happy to see Dr. Davis live. Here the doctor says I still have an antidote. Because when the CEO of the company asked me for an antidote, then I gave him 2 antidotes. One of them hit it. George tries to break the tower. Because the tower is out of the tower. George was hurt. Now here's David talking to Dr. Kate. That we have to give the last remaining antidote here to George, so that he could kill the other 2 animals. But it was very difficult for George to get an antidote, because George is very angry. Davis is now thinking, how do we give George the antidote? And then there comes the CEO of the company, which brings an idea to Davis's mind. Then he calls the judge. Listen to the voice of David. Then he jumped up and down. Now the attention of the CEO of the company goes to Judge, and the opportunity to benefit the doctor who had the last antidote left. She puts the antidote in the CEO's bag and pushes him towards George, after which George is caught alive and swallowed by the CEO of the company, and then the antidote goes into George's stomach. Now Davis asks the doctor how long will the antidote show effect? Which the doctor says, it will take 10 minutes for the antidote to show effect. The brother of the CEO is running away. Then the agent comes in front of him and the agent. He says to his brother, so I can get you out of here. But for you, give me my laptop and that secret experiment, you and yours. They were sisters. I have to give all his files. The CEO's brother is much more cowardly. They give all the documents and files to the agent and leave, but as soon as he gets out of the gate, the building's debris falls on it, the one under whom he is killed. The other 2 animals, they are trying to reach the top of the building. And the wolf reaches the top of the tower. Now the whole building is weak due to the structure of the building here. It shakes. Seeing this, Davis understands that this building is about to collapse. Doctors quickly get into the helicopter. And as the 3 animals reach the roof of the building, then the building collapses and falls to the ground. Doctor and Davis sitting in the helicopter. They save their lives, and they watch the building. The earth will be destroyed completely. Then we see the judge come out of the rubble of the building. Then here Davis starts talking to George in gestures, and George, hear the words of David. David is pleased to see this, because devs understand now the antidote to George is beginning to take effect, and George is back in his normal state. Then the 2 animals came out of the rubble of the building, which he saw from David. Then we have to destroy both of them together, and George believes in it. Davis then approached a military vehicle. He carries a gun and a bomb. He tells the doctor to go to him. Stop blasting candles on the city. Then Davis, who had previously lived in the military with George, to fight Crocodile and Wolf, he goes and attacks them. But that crocodile is much more powerful. Wolf also starts fighting George with Crocodile. And that crocodile, George lifts up and hits the front building. George did not give up, and he catches the wolf and throws it away. Now that Wolf is rising to attack George, then Davis, shooting Wolf, he draws it to himself, and he is like a wolf attacking Davis. Then Davis quickly removes from the front and he big croctails. The wolf is killed in a single shock. Because it was easy for George and David. Wolf was killed. I just wanted to kill them. But he is so much more powerful. It is heavy on both of them. Now here, the fight between Crookdale and George begins, and Davis, shoot this crocodile with bullets. looks like, but on the body of the crocodile. The bullets have no effect. And the crocodile rises and falls to the ground. Now Davis is here to save his partner. Throws a lot of bombs in this crocodile's ear, which in the ear of this crocodile, there was a huge explosion and crocodile weakens, but the crocodile doesn't stop. And then he raises the judge to the front of the building, which causes a large iron rod to penetrate the chest of George, and George is in a bad way. Now here's Crocodile moving forward again to kill George. Then David to save his partner. One of the passes, goes into the helicopter and sits strong on the crocodile. The fire starts, which makes this crocodile angry enough for Dawes, and that crocodile, Teasy starts to move towards him to kill Dawes. And as they croak, the helicopter is thrown in. Then David quickly jumped from the helicopter to save his life, but that crocodile still doesn't leave his chase. And as soon as he kills the crocodiles, then George flew from behind, carrying a large iron rod. And then he puts it in the eye of the crocodile, which ultimately kills the crocodile. The other side is watching. And when the colonel knows, the crocodile has been killed, so he fights his own. Return the jets. Bomb blast cancels mission. Everything was under control, but now George is getting too angry. He goes to the side because of it. And the last time you shake hands with David, George is dead. Seeing this makes David very sad, because George cared for his life and saved Davis's life. Then there's the doctor. Cat and Agent also come, and both of them were dead. They are quite sad as soon as Davis and the doctor leave. Then he noticed that George had shaken his hand. And when Davis turns around like George, I see George doing a very sweet thing here. George opens his eyes. As soon as they see me, they see me. Then he turned his eyes to death. Seeing this, David, he smiled and said, I know you're playing. Listen to this. Judge opens his eyes and laughs at Davis. He says, when you're doing it, you're doing it. You knew I was dead and you were crying. But Davis doesn't believe that. He said, I wasn't crying. Then George, Davis asks Dr. Kate who it is. Then Davis tells him that this is my friend. George smiled and smiled. The story ends with him. If you have this video, please subscribe to our channel and like the video. Of course it will.